Alright, so you should have already done the first problem on the simple interest word problems worksheet, okay? And if I have not stamped it yet, please be patient. I'll be walking around and I'll be checking on everyone's papers and I'll be stamping this off to check off that you know how to do this, okay? Now I'm doing the second one with you, or I'm showing you an example of this one just so to make sure that you understand how to find the simple interest, okay? So for number 2, it says Craig just purchased a new sports car. He financed $45,000 and must pay it back over 5 years with 11% interest. Okay, so first before we move on, so just again, another little life lesson tidbit thing. When you're buying a car, usually more than likely you're not going to be able to pay all of the amount of that car in that first when you first get that car. So let's say you're buying a car and you want to get it, so what the deal and you can't pay it all at once because cars are just really expensive. You're not gonna more than likely you're not gonna be able to pay your whole car off up front. So usually what a car dealership does is that you have to put a down payment and then you will finance the car, meaning whatever is left after you've made your down payment, you're going to be paying off that car in small increments every month. So that's usually, sometimes if you hear your parents say, oh, I have a car payment I have to make, that's because they financed their car. So they financed, and it's a very common thing that basically almost 95% of people who buy a car usually do that. They will they'll have a down payment, they'll give to the dealership, and then they'll finance the rest of it to pay little by little every month, because that's easier than having to pay $45,000 up front. So when our friend Craig here, bought his sports car, he put a down payment, but he still has to pay off $45,000. So he's going to finance it and pay it over in 5 years. But here's the catch. He needs to also pay it with 11% interest. Again, car dealerships, banks, they all do this. Because even though it's easier to pay off the $45,000 over 5 years, they add on interest as a way of getting you to pay it off faster, okay? And it's just kind of like how it just works in order for them to get more profit. Okay, so, and this is again a common thing when it comes to buying a car. Okay, so now let's move on now let's see what we have to do for the problem. How much will Craig have paid in interest by the time his car is paid off? Okay, so the first thing we need to do for interest, remember, interest equals P times R times T. Okay, so our interest is going to be the principal amount times the interest, the annual interest, times the amount of time. So for this problem, the principal amount is $45,000. He financed $45,000 that he must pay back. So we're going to start off with 45,000. Oops, sorry, there you go. 45,000 times our interest rate, which is 11%. Now we are not going to put 11%, we're going to put 11% in decimal form. And again, 11% in decimal form, you gotta move our decimal in the back here, the back of the 11, 2 place values to the left. And you're left with 0 and 11 hundredths. So I'm just going to put 11 hundredths or 0.11 times the amount of time that we're going to be paying off with this interest. And for Craig, the time that he has is 5 years. So we need to multiply all of this by 5. I should just put a dot there because I put a dot here and I'm now putting a multiplication symbol. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Anyway, so we're multiplying all these numbers together. So first, let's start off with the 45,000 times 0.11. So 45,000 times 0.11. Okay, 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, 4 times 1 is 4. Now when we multiply, when we move on to the next number, we need to put our marker there. So we put a 0 there, 0 times 1 is 0, we start over, 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, and then 4 times 1 is 4. When we add that all up together, it's going to equal 0, 0, 0, 5 times plus 0 is 5, 4 plus 5 is 9, and then 495,000. But remember, we have a decimal here, so we got to count how many numbers are after the decimal, and that's 2. And so we need to put a decimal after 2 place values. So it's actually 4,950.00, or just 4,950. Okay, so we're not done yet though, because we've only multiplied the principal amount and our rate, our interest rate. Now we gotta multiply by the amount of time. So 4,950 times 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 9 times 5 is 45. Plus 2 is 47. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 4 is 24. So the interest that Craig will be paying by the time that his car is paid off is $24,750, which is quite a lot, but it is a sports car, and that's the deal that he struck with his with the car dealership. Okay, so that's the amount of interest he'll be paying after 5 years. Okay, so now for B, how much will he have paid in all for his car, including interest after 5 years? So including the interest, so all we have to do is how much we have paid in all. Okay, so in all, so we have to take the money that he had to finance plus the interest. So all we gotta do is add 45,000 plus 24,750. Okay, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 5 is 5, 0 plus 7 is 7, 5 plus 4 is 9, 4 plus 2 is 6. So we have $69,750. And don't forget that dollar sign. Dollar sign is very important. So granted, $69,750 is a lot of money, but he's paying off a sports car, okay? And he's paying it off with 11% interest. And this is common, okay? And that's why usually if you, when you're watching TV and you are watching a car commercial, they'll advertise, oh, we only have 2% interest or 3% interest, because obviously the lower the interest, the less amount of money you have to pay back in a certain amount of time. Okay, 11% interest is pretty high. Okay, but again, he's buying a sports car, so good on Craig. So after you finish just copying down this problem, what I want you to do is move on to number 3. And again, with number 3, you're going to do both parts, A and B, and then of course I'll still be walking around stamping this off. Now don't wait for me to stamp off your paper. Once you've finished this problem, move on to the back of the paper, which is this guy right here, and you're going to watch the video where I do number 4, because 4 is going to be a little bit different. You might see something that's slightly different about number 4. So we're going to do that problem together in the next video, okay?